Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the TNC podcast. I am really excited to get stuck into this yellow and green conversation tonight. This man helped secure Norwich City promotion back to where we belong, the Premier League. 311 career appearances, 55 for Norwich City, one glorious Premier League goal, a solid centre-back. It's, of course, Leon Barnett. Leon, first of all, matey, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate your time. How are things with you at the moment?
Yeah, all good. All good. I think you caught me off guard yesterday, catching me on the sofa, but yeah, no, I'm all good. I'm all happy to talk.
You brought it up, mate. I'm gonna tell the audience now. Yeah, that's right. I had booked in a recording session with Leon, but he accidentally fell asleep on the sofa, so we had to rearrange it. So here we are. Appreciate his presence. He needs his sleep, does Leon, and I'm sure we'll get onto that more further on the line. Leon, I noticed first of all you were at the amazing Watford game at Vicarage Road. You were sitting in the Watford end. What did you think of us? What result for the yellow and green boys, hey?
Yeah, it was a great result. Obviously, being brought up in Luton, Watford's not our friendliest rivals anyway. So just to beat them is fantastic. But I think, like I said, Norwich deserved all 3 points. And it's great for Sargent to get those 2 goals as well. I think he's been under a lot of pressure recently. And for him to come up with 2 goals, that little scorpion kick was very phenomenal as well. And yeah, I think they're absolutely buzzing. Hopefully that'll be sort of a little role they can get onto now.
Yeah, we pray and hope. It was an absolutely fantastic result. And Leon, what I really want to ask your opinion on is actually I know that the attackers will get all of the headlines from that game, but what did you think about us defensively? I'm particularly interested in your thoughts on the performances from perhaps Grant Handley or Ben Gibson, given that they were in your position back when you were playing for Norwich. What did you think of us defensively?
Well, I've seen them previously before, and I think they're very sort of solid together in previous games. That Watford game probably weren't the most, probably weren't the best performance from them. I think they'd probably tell you that themselves. But ultimately, as a defender and as a goalkeeper, you want to keep a clean sheet. So they've done their job. I do know that obviously they come under a lot of pressure towards sort of the middle of the game, really, and even in the first half, I think Watford could have scored a goal. So, they've done it right. I think you're going to get games where, the back is going to be against the wall. You're going to soak up a lot of pressure. And if you can get those strikers or midfielders to create chances and score, then, it takes the pressure off the defenders.
What's the area of latent potential then, Leon, for these Norwich City defenders to fulfil? You've been quite polite there, and you've said it wasn't the best performance. So what do we need to do defensively to actually improve? Because as you say, we are going to be backs against the walls in most games in the Premier League. We've got a tough game against Crystal Palace. We've got some even more difficult games, of course, against Liverpool and Man City. So what did you notice in the Norwich City defence that we need to improve if we want to survive this season?
Yeah, like I said, it's just obviously when you're coming up against sort of teams like Watford, no disrespect, but they're sort of bottom of the league, and they're obviously fighting, scrapping for the points. Whereas I think they should, Norwich maybe should be a bit more attacking. Don't sort of sit back and be happy to sort of soak up the passion and then hit them on their counter attack. I can understand it would be a different game if he was playing Man United or Man City, but yeah, I think the score is well deserved. But if you're looking from the first half, it could have gone either way. It was sort of a dangerous game to ride. But like I said, the end result is the main thing. They've come away with 3 goals, and everybody's happy.
How do you fancy Norwich's chances, Leon? Having watched them on telly loads, I'm sure. I know that you keep up to date with Norwich, obviously, as one of your former clubs, and see them in the flesh as well at Vicarage Road. What are you thinking at the moment? Do you think we can pull this off? Do you think it's possible for Norwich to survive this season?
I'll be honest. When it was 10 games gone, I think it was on one point, and I thought, yeah, that's our days done in the Premier League. But after seeing the last couple of results and performances, I actually don't see why they can't stay up. I think they can stay up quite, not comfortably, but I think there are 3 worse teams than Norwich, to put that politely. But yeah, I think they've got more than enough to stay up. I think it's more down to confidence. When you're at the bottom of the league, you need to sort of find a way, graft a way down to get 3 points and just build on it.
Yeah, no, I agree, man. It's great to have that hope back in. We spoke about that a lot on our most recent podcast, and it's great to hear it from a former player as well, because I think it's quite easy for us as fans to get carried away, but to hear it from someone like yourself, looking at that team, going, actually, do you know what? I think they have got the tools to survive. Is certainly going to be music to the Norwich fans' ears right now. Leon, what does it take to be an excellent centre back? I want your thoughts on this, because, like, I think the game is changing now, right? Where we need defenders to be more mobile than ever before. But what do you think, in your opinion, makes a solid centre back, particularly in the Premier League? Because of course you've played at that level. What sort of attributes do these players need to have?
Well, first of all, I'm not an excellent centre back. Obviously, I was just told to hit it and kick it and made a good living of it. But also, but seriously, no. Obviously, to be a centre back, you need to be a leader. You need to be dominant in the air, on the floor. I think you just need to sort of take control of the situations. You get sort of top players like the players in the Premier League now. You're looking at every team and you think there's world class players such as like Salah and Ronaldo. And I don't know. I think for the defenders that we've got at the moment, or even just as a team, I think they look forward to having a challenge. And as a defender, your challenge is to stop them from scoring. So I think that's a great challenge as it is. And I just think you've got to have a hunger. Like most of the managers that I've played under, they've always mentioned defenders love to defend, which is perfect. As soon as a ball sort of gets played out in a wide area, I don't know, I quite like getting in the box and just trying to get there before my attacker. So just little things like that. I think there's obviously a lot more things defenders can come up with. But yeah, like I said, I enjoyed defending. And it looks like they do. They do enjoy it. But there's going to be times where, like I said, you can't soak up all the pressure. There's going to be times where the opposition are going to find ways in. They are going to find gaps. And they are going to make attempts on goal. So as long as they can limit them, and then maybe nick one or two at the other end, then it's obviously going to be a perfect game and 3 points in the bag.
There's a couple of things you've mentioned there, Leon, which you've been hinting at throughout, which is actually attack is the offense is actually the best form of defense. Actually, I think you've mentioned that both in terms of watching the Watford game and also being a good defensive side. You can't just keep sucking up the pressure. That's very true. And of course, a man that lived by that is your former manager Paul Lambert, which we will speak about in just a short moment. And that's probably quite a good opportunity to start talking about your Norwich City career, Leon. Take me back to the beginning when you first signed initially on loan from West Brom, wasn't it? What sort of feelings and emotions were going around in your head when you drove through those Colney gates for the first time? Because as you've said, you were brought in to just head the ball, so you say.
Yeah.
But what were you thinking? What was going around the Leon Barnett skull at that point?
Well, there was moments before even driving into the round. I remember my agent sort of telling me, Paul Lambert's interested in taking you. Do you want to have a chat with him? And I was like, I don't really want to go all the way down to Norwich. It's like sort of middle of nowhere. I can't see my family. So anyway, when I went down and saw him, he just made me feel loved again. At West Brom, sort of coming to the end of my time, and new managers come in. They have different philosophies, and I didn't fit in. But yeah, Paul Lambert come in. He had a sort of a dream, and he had sort of, I don't know, he had a way that we wanted to play. He wanted me to keep it easy, head kick the ball, keep it simple, lead, demand. And I think I did that as well as others. And even to this day now, I look back on the team, no disrespect to the team again, but there was no one that was sort of, I don't know, an outstanding ex-Premier League player or a championship legend. There was no one sort of that's done it. And then obviously when they got promoted to the League One and then back into the championship, that was obviously a phenomenal time. And obviously going into Premier League, that was unknown. Like, I think everybody sort of underestimated us that season, and surprised a few and caught them off guard.
We're going to speak about that season. I'm interested to hear about this, Leon, specifically, right? Because when you joined the club, this was before a lot of money was ploughed into the development of the training ground and the Lotus Training Centre as it is at Colney these days. So Was it literally just Lambert's dream that sold you into the club? Was it the pay packet? Because as you say, you didn't want to leave your family and stuff. It's out the way. So I'm really interested. How did they persuade you to join the club in the end?
Just, like I said, it was just obviously it is a Premier League sort of stadium. The training ground is phenomenal. And Paul, like I said, Lambert was the driving high level himself. And like I said, they hadn't really got many great, like there wasn't players that had played in the Premier League or played at a high level. And I just thought it was another challenge. Like I said, I wasn't really involved that much at West Brom. I thought it was a good opportunity for me to start fresh and sort of like prove myself again. And yeah, it sort of jumped out at me. Obviously, when I did get there, it's probably the best 3 years that I've had in my life. You know, I had children that was brought up there, proposed to my missus, managed to play in the Premier League. So yeah, there's a lot of things that I ticked off that I never thought I'd tick off.
That is absolutely amazing. I love hearing the happy memories that former players had off the pitch in Norwich as well. That's always nice to hear. Let's talk about that amazing season when, of course, we were promoted back to the Premier League. We'd just gone and absolutely smashed League One. A real character and hunger amongst the team, and some now what we would affiliate as legends of this football club in that squad. What was it in your mind, Leon, that did it? Because as you've said, this was a team full of individuals that weren't absolutely outstanding. But how did it all come together? How were you able to do that double bounce and achieve the unthinkable for Norwich City in that 2011-12 season?
Yeah, like I mentioned before, I think Paul Lambert had a massive sort of pull in that. When I got there, I just thought it'd be sort of, I don't know, not easy going, but you just go in, enjoy yourself, and get out. But when I got there, it was more of a sergeant major. We're working to get promoted, which I thought, wow, it's a couple of steps of what I thought we would be. But then again, like I said, all the boys there were on the same page. Everybody worked hard. We did our jobs. We did our gym session. And I think Paul Lambert he added little incentives that if we did go up, we would do something together as a group, which was great. And just, little things like that just sort of kept the boys on board, which was great.
What were the incentives, Leon?
Well, I don't think it was just him. I think the club helped us go to Las Vegas. So it was it was unbelievable. There's not many clubs that sort of pay for you guys to go to Las Vegas, which was phenomenal for us. And it just showed how tight the group was. I don't remember seeing anybody sort of arguing or like swearing at each other. It was more sort of like, I don't know, like a positive criticism. Like, this is what you should do next time. I'll help you out next time. I don't know, just everything just seemed to go well. I don't know whether because obviously Norwich is in the middle of nowhere, it's just everybody was always around each other after training, during training. It was sort of a good atmosphere to be involved in.
We have heard about this infamous Las Vegas trip before, Leon. Don't worry, Will Brahamovich told us a fair bit on our podcast. Go and listen to that episode if you've not heard it already, folks. So you have brought him up. We don't like to talk about him too much now for obvious reasons, but Paul Lambert. Let's go to what the people want to hear. Was there a moment where you were petrified? Because I remember meeting Paul, and he did have what I would call a scary aura about him. When you're in his presence, you're in his presence. So when you're in the changing room at halftime and things aren't going well, Leon, talk to me. You must have had some pretty hairy moments with Mr. Lambert.
Yeah, definitely. I think you get that with all managers. It happens. It's part and parcel of the business. Obviously, it's not for a sportsman. It's not just the game. There's more to it. Obviously, you got to think of the fans have paid their money to watch you play and try and get 3 points. Obviously, some of the players have got sort of mortgages to pay for. There's a lot that's on the line, and I think there's times where he did, blow his rocket, and he's blown his rocket at me, and that's just something I had to deal with. Obviously, at the time, I didn't agree with it, but it's a bit of a learning curve for myself. So, and I think it's a learning curve for everybody. But yeah, it's something that you have to deal with when you're a player, and you don't really understand until you're a coach and you've got to sort of deliver those talks and those little prep talks that get you going again.
So when you say you didn't agree with it, Leon, like what's your reaction? So Lambert's going mental at you, he's screaming at you. How are you reacting to that? Are you just not saying anything, or how are you dealing with that?
Yeah, so I'm quite a laid back person anyway. It's very rarely that I get upset and start having a tantrum, but yeah, I would just obviously just not look at him. And I think at that stage, I've had a lot of hammerings in the past. When I was at Luton, they used to sort of pick on the younger boys and blame them quite a bit, so I knew how to sort of deal with it. And at that time, like I said, I've grown up. I've grown up now, and obviously he'd hammer me, and I just wouldn't talk. I'd hold it in, and then maybe speak to him in the end. Which I think I say this to a lot of young players. I said it's quite easy to get caught up in the moment. You need to sort of compose yourself, and maybe if there's something that you disagree with or something that's taken personal, you need to say it at the end, because obviously it gives you a little bit more thinking time and how to sort of react to it. But yeah, I think if I was there sort of a couple of years earlier, yeah, it wouldn't have been a nice sight.
Were any of the other players as calm as I bet a few of the other lads weren't as calm as you though, Leon?
Nah, definitely not. There was a couple that sort of shouted and screamed and obviously kicked bottles and stuff like that. But like I said, you get that in every change room. There's no one that sort of hasn't done that in the past. It's part and parcel of football. When you've got sort of a job to do and someone's letting you down, you need to obviously make those sort of feelings come out. But you got to say it and do it in the right way, I think.
Absolutely. Let's talk about playing in the Premier League, Leon. Something that Norwich fans are always debating season on season is, can we make this step up? Can the players make the step up? As a player yourself that has done that jump, how did you find that step up in terms of quality, not just in terms of what you needed to do, but also the opposition that you were coming up against? And that must be a really proud moment for you to have made that step up to play against some of the best players in the world.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think the second time, obviously, me going into Premier League was with Norwich, and I think that was probably the most enjoyable time, just purely because when I was at sort of West Brom, I was still quite young, sort of more looked at who I'm playing against, sort of mesmerised about obviously who they are in the stadiums. Whereas when I came to Norwich, I had that sort of experience. I knew how quick the tempo of the game was. I knew who sort of, I don't know, what sort of tactics they'd play. So I think for my second time was the most enjoyable time. Like I said, I managed to score a goal. But yeah, the season that we had in the Premier League, I think we finished 10th. So that was sort of a great achievement to have at any club. And I think it was nice for everybody as well. Like a lot of them hadn't played in the Premier League. I think I was the most experienced player that played in the Premier League. So I don't know, there was a lot of pressure put on me. But I didn't really feel like it really. Once I had joined from Norwich, it was just sort of an easy sort of adjustment. I didn't feel like I had to prove anything to any of the boys. I think that I just felt like I had been there for ages, for longer than a year. And it was just something that I could just deal with.
Absolutely love that from you, Leon. I really do. And when we do these podcasts, Leon, I'm going to spring a bit of a surprise on you here. I always reach out to a few people that may or may not have had some better experiences with you over the seasons at Norwich City. And one man did pipe up to a message that I sent, which is, have you got any banter on Leon Barnett? And he goes by the name of Grant Holt.
I don't know him.
And and one of the things, well, one of two things that he's asked that I raised is, he said, can you ask him about the time that he proposed in the helicopter? You have mentioned this already, but I believe a certain someone wasn't particularly happy with it.
Oh yeah. So yeah, he has dropped me in this one. He is 1-0 Grant Holt. But yeah, I think the week before we was playing Man City, I thought I'd propose to my missus, as you do, just being a nice gentleman, take her around in a helicopter and propose, which I thought was a good idea. The next day, absolutely all the boys ripped the crap out of me, and yeah, what you doing it in a helicopter going around Norwich? But yeah, I just thought I'd do it. And anyway, we played Man City, I think on the Saturday. Yeah, we got hammered, and that was probably one of the moments. Paul Lambert did have a go at me. I did try to keep it down. I did feel like he was making it personal. He sort of to blame that I'm having a bad game because I took my missus around in a helicopter, which I think was a little bit harsh and a bit personal. But yeah, once again, I tried my hardest to keep my lip and yeah, spoke to him at the end of the game or the next day, I think it was. And yeah, I think it was all resolved. I don't think there was any sort of bad feelings about it. It was just something that I felt. I think he respected that, and yeah, we moved on. But yeah, it was an intense cut. It was an intense week. Obviously, I had the engagement on my missus, which was great, and then the next minute I'm getting absolutely battered from my mates, and then Paul Lambert's chucking himself in as well, and then yeah, it was a bit of an awkward moment.
What a story! That's absolutely brilliant. And he has asked me to bring something else up, Leon, because of course you don't just have the Norwich City experience with Grant Holt. You also have the Wigan experience with Grant Holt. And he's asked me to tell you about the time that you almost killed yourself from a throw-in.
Ah, yeah, he's not coming back on the show, is he?
Look, I'll give him a right
Yeah,
to reply.
yeah. No. So yeah, it was when I was at Wigan. We was playing Bury, and I think it was an FA Cup game. So I think we were losing sort of might have been 1-0 or 2-0, and I'm playing sort of left centre half was of a free. The ball went out of play, and I obviously ran and got the ball, trying to take the throw in quite quickly. So every now and again, you see obviously when people take a throw in, they need sort of a long run up. Obviously, around Bury's stadium, there isn't a long run up. So I just thought I'd sit on the sort of advertising board and then obviously just launch myself and try and throw the ball as far up the pitch as possible. What I didn't expect was I think I sat on my hand. Then the ball sort of fell out my left hand, and then I tried to regather it. By the time I did regather it, I fell back, and I think it was about a 6-foot drop, which was it could have been quite painful if the sheets weren't down there. But yeah, we played the game, and I got questioned about it, you know, on the coach. We actually lost the game, and that was the only thing that came out. No one spoke about the score. They spoke about the throw-in. So yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of lads that will be having a giggle about that.
Oh, there you go. There's Grant Holt's banter. Right, Leon. Another thing that we do on these podcasts is we get you to go through your ideal Norwich City 11 from the time that you had at the club, and you've kindly provided us with that before the show. So I'm going to bring this up on the screen now. If you just lean to your left or your right, whichever way that is. Yeah. Talk me through this team. I mean, I'm already looking at some of those names, Leon, and I'm thinking, hello. I mean, for starters, let's go right to the attack. We don't need to talk about that man that's given you stick, but
Yeah.
Harry Kane has made it. Why is that?
I just thought I'd put him in there. Like, he always worked hard after training. I don't think he had the most successful time at Norwich. He obviously had I think it was an ankle injury that sort of kept on bugging him, and even struggling with it now. But yeah, I think he come into the dressing room quite shy. We sort of heard the stories that, you know, he was playing for the under-23s. He was only 18 at the time, and he was doing really well. I think a lot of people wrote him off purely because they thought he would be sort of I don't know, playing in kettle of fish. But he was and he was always trying to work hard. And that's why he's in my team. Just his hard work and dedication, and it shows to see how far he's. I mean, I think all of those names on the on my little minority there, I don't think anyone would have thought he would have made it that far. But it just goes to show, you know, if you work hard and set your dreams high, you can achieve anything, and he done exactly that.
Why, Leon, did you think he wouldn't go far from what you saw of him at Norwich?
Just purely because I didn't really see him play. I know in training he's always looking to get that half yard and shoot, and he had quite a powerful and accurate shot, which was obviously great. But I think when it comes to games, he was never sort of match fit. I remember him coming off. I think it might have been against Luton Town in the FA Cup. And that was sort of his time to shine. I think he started the game pretty sharp, but yeah, I think he got taken off down to injury, and I don't think we saw anything of him after that. But yeah, like I said, he's always working hard. Training, he was very good, very solid. Knew where the goal was. But yeah, like I said, he's in that team because of the hard work and dedication he's got, and it's just a proven fact to where he is now. Really, he's worked hard to get where he is, and it's fully deserved.
A few of the usual suspects in midfield that we won't cover because there's no point. We all know how good they were. But one man I'm particularly interested in is Smith. I assume Corey Smith.
Yeah.
How has he made your team? What was he like as a player and amongst that squad?
So Corey, for me, like he was, I don't know, he must have been about 18, 19 when he was playing at the time. And I don't know, I think Corey was one of those players that you could play him anywhere along the midfield. Honestly, he would run and run forever. He would want the ball wherever on the pitch. And I don't know whether I think he just showed that sort of that mature side in the football. He never sort of. I just purely think he enjoyed the game so much. He played football like he was in a playground. He'd try and get the ball from any side of the pitch. If he was playing left wing or right wing, he'd do his best to get past the winger, maybe cross it, or he'd maybe sort of make an interlude. Play front man and join in. But yeah, I think he could play. He'd be very good. But yeah, he was a prospect that we knew he was going to go on a lot further than what he was. And yeah, the only thing that struggled with, well, that's obviously been his down point is probably his injuries as well. I know he's struggling with his ankle injuries at Norwich as well. But yeah, he's gone on to sort of captain his team, and yeah, he's done very well.
He has indeed. And of course, you've put yourself in there at centre back, and I want to talk about your centre back partnership that you've gone for. Give us an insight into Sebastian Bassong. Just how much of a joker is he, and what is he like in the changing room? What is he like behind the scenes to play alongside?
Yeah, I think he was a very good player. Like I said, he played at a high level, played with Spurs, and had like a lot of experience in that sort of level. And I just thought that when he come in, it was great for me to sort of learn from him, just the way how he plays the game. He was a laugh and a joke, which is great, but at times I did think he did overstep the mark and maybe do it at the wrong times. But that's the way he dealt with it. But yeah, I thought he was a terrific player. Not sure. Well, he's not playing now, but not sure where he went after Norwich. But I think he was quite successful at Norwich.
Yeah, no, well, he won Player of the Season, didn't he? So he was. You can't argue. He did have at least a successful season with Norwich. I wasn't overwhelmingly buzzing with Sebastian Bassong and his time at Norwich, but you can't argue at the end of the day, he won Player of the Season and, as you say, played at the highest level with us. So, interesting team. Thank you for providing us with that, Leon. I really appreciate that. And just on the boys that you played with, who are the characters that you'll never forget from your time at Norwich?
Simon Lappin, definitely. I remember going into the changing room. Yeah. Or you sound surprised?
Yeah, why Simon Lappin, the King of Spain?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you a story. When I went in for the first time, obviously I was given squad number 20, which was next to Simon Lappin, and it might have been Elliot Ward. I'm not 100% sure, or it might have been Simeon Jackson. I'm not too sure. So I went in, spoke to Simon Lappin like all the time. He was sort of very nice to me, very welcoming. Told me where I should live, where the gym is, where the canteen is. So anyway, you go out on the training pitch. Obviously, you're feeling a little bit nervous because you don't really know people's names. I think we was doing a keep ball, and honestly, Simon Lappin was just going at me. I didn't know whether it was like a personal thing. I think, this fella was really nice to me in the change room. Like, what's actually happened? And then I don't know. I tried to avoid him, and then after the training, we came in, and then he was back to sort of that nice self. I was like, what on earth is this? What have I stepped into here? He was just like two different personalities, but it just showed that, once you cross that white line, he's he's a winner and he doesn't expect nothing less. And yeah, it's good to have characters like that. I've never seen anybody like that before, but it just shows, like, off the pitch, he's a nice gentleman. He's, he's willing to help anybody, which he does on the pitch. But on the pitch, he wants a job done and he wants it done properly and he expects high standards, which was, yeah, it's perfect. And I think that just run through the whole team. I don't think it was just him that had that sort of personality, but a lot of the boys there wanted the best out of each other and they demanded the best as well. That's why I think that we had a successful sort of, year going up to the Premier League.
Simon Lappin, King of Spain. What a man, what a story. I really, really enjoy hearing those happy memories, Leon. It's great to hear one of the King of Spain. A man that you might not want to talk about, but I'm going to bring him up anyway because that's what I tend to do on these podcasts. Poke the bear a little bit here, Leon. Chris Heaton comes into Norwich City, and I think it's fair to say that you fell out of favour at that point. What's your opinion on his style of football? Because I think I can probably speak for most Norwich fans and say, although we finished really high in the Premier League, the football was really, really boring and we didn't enjoy watching it. But what's your opinion on the man, on the time that you fell out of the club, and also the style of football?
In terms of the style of football, that's obviously his opinion. That's his philosophy. Every manager has their own sort of way of playing, which is, it's going to happen. You go to other teams and you've got sort of people that play more defensive than others. You get obviously some teams that sort of are more structured to sort of a more attacking style. But for whatever reason, I didn't fit in the team, which is fair enough. I can obviously take that. I've obviously had that sort of opinion from other people. It's not an issue at all. But just some of the things that sort of were nitpicking at me, which, I don't know, it just baffled me. Didn't really leave me with any sort of answers. But like I said, yeah, it's down to him. He's picking a team. Like I said, that's something that I have to go with. And if it's not working, I've got to look elsewhere.
Very interesting take on Mr. Heaton, indeed, and something else that might not be particularly comfortable to talk about, Leon, but very interested to get your take on it. Is obviously having endured and experienced some really challenging moments around your own personal heart health, obviously leading to you having to finish your career early. Where do you think we stand right now in terms of the education around heart health, both in terms of the professional game and not? Because we're seeing lots more cases of both players and fans and people in general. Obviously, since the pandemic, it seems to be happening more now. What's your experience with it?
Yeah, I think over the last 2 years, obviously since COVID's come in, I don't know whether that's something that's linked, but the amount of players and fans in the stadiums that are sort of going down with heart issues is kind of scary. Sort of, I remember when you used to maybe get one heart condition, maybe, I don't know, once every 2 or 3 seasons, but now you're looking at quite a lot in one season. In terms of the sort of education, I do think the whole world needs to do something. Well, needs to do a lot more. For example, we do in my football education program, we do life skills. So just simply, knowing what to do if someone's having a heart attack or a cardiac arrest, or I don't know, someone's choking. I don't feel we get taught that in school. There's a lot more that sort of I could touch on, but obviously I don't want to dig too deep into it. But I think there's a lot more that we could do as individuals, and there's probably a lot more that we could do in schools.
Yeah, no, I agree, Leon, entirely. I think it's good to hear that from you, and I agree entirely. That's why I wanted to bring it up. I only really started to learn about things like CPR, etc., when I went on my first aid in the workplace course, back in one of my old jobs, and you just don't learn it until then. So yeah, I do highly encourage people listening and watching now, wherever you are in the world, to go and find out how to help someone that's choking, how to help someone that's potentially having a heart attack or something like that. I think it's really, really important. And on the topic of education, Leon, you're now running a football academy, if I'm right. How are you enjoying that?
Yeah, it's good. It can be stressful. Obviously, they're teenagers. You don't know what to expect, especially in the mornings. you might get a grumpy moan, or you might say, get a nice little good morning, Leon. But yeah, it's been intense at times. But yeah, I enjoy it. I'm doing the more coaching side of it. So obviously the guys go in. It's a bit like a college, really. They learn sort of sports and a sports diploma, have lunch, and then in the afternoon they're sort of coached by myself. We play games on a Wednesday. But yeah, it's just more of a relaxing time for them to when I'm coaching them. I don't want them sort of being in a classroom all day, and then obviously having to come out with me and do all shape and boring stuff. I want them to have a bit of life in them, have a bit of sort of a laugh and a giggle. And I think I learned that from Paul Lambert. I know obviously you don't want me to keep going on about him, but I think he was really good on how and when to sort of have the enjoyment of football. Like day before a game, it was always fun, but he wanted things done properly. So there might be times where we'll have a keep ball square where someone gets nutmegged. It's a bit of fun. But then again, when we do go into sort of structured, sort of tactical, I don't know, things, then, everybody has to be eyes and ears switched on and know what the job is.
Interesting, and so pleased to hear that you're doing well, Leon. Lastly, there's obviously thousands of Norwich City fans watching and listening to this now all over the world. Do you have a message for those Norwich fans that supported you over those seasons that you had at the football club?
Yeah, just obviously thank you for supporting. I hope you can still continue. I think the club are going in a good direction. Now is obviously a very good time to sort of stand up and be counted. And yeah, hopefully we can do the job as a group and push on and stay up.
Absolutely brilliant. And that is all for this episode. I just want to say a huge thank you, of course, to yourself, Leon, for coming on. And of course, a huge thank you to all of the Norwich fans for watching, listening, wherever you are. If you've enjoyed this episode, if you're watching on YouTube, do give it a thumbs up to like it. If you're listening on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, do rate us. 5-star reviews are definitely welcome indeed. And of course, get involved in the conversation. And make sure that you go and follow Leon on Instagram and Twitter to keep in touch with his journey, and at TalkNorwichCity. Finally, there's only one thing left to say, and I've not briefed you on this, Leon. What's that?
I don't know. Are you going to sing up the? I don't know. Are you going to sing a song or?
On the Ball City. Go on.
Yeah. Oh no, that's not for me. I can't sing. You don't want to hear me.
Leon, top man. Thanks so much, man.